So I want to talk about grit in UX design, and not grit in the motivational poster sense, where everything is about hustle culture and pushing through at all costs. I mean real grit, the kind that shows up when you're weeks into a project, everything's ambiguous, and the easy path is to just stop caring. But you don't. Because honestly, this is not an easy career path, and I don't think we talk about that enough. From the outside, UX design seems like a dream role. It's often portrayed as creative, inspiring, deeply user centered, and sure, a lot of the time it is. There are moments where you're sketching something that feels fresh, or when a new piece of research uncovers something that shifts the way everyone thinks about a problem. And those moments are amazing. They keep us going. But most of the time, the work is slow. It can be repetitive. It's nuanced, and it's often invisible. You're not just designing, you're navigating structures. You're dealing with product goals, business incentives, engineering constraints, legacy systems, timelines that don't line up with the complexity of the problem you're trying to solve. You're often the one person asking, how will this feel to someone who doesn't live in the system every day? And that question, asking it consistently, can be exhausting. So yeah, grit is essential. Because UX design done well is not a one-shot deal. It's not about coming in with one great idea and calling it a day. It's about returning to the same space over and over, testing, refining, explaining your rationale, aligning people, revisiting things you thought were settled. It's not always glamorous. It's persistence. There's this phrase I come back to sometimes. It's not sexy, but it's necessary. That sums up a lot of the work that we do. Refining an edge case? Not sexy. Rewriting empty state copy for clarity? Not sexy. Mapping flows between 4 different user types with overlapping needs and permissions? Absolutely not sexy, but necessary? Completely. Some of the best work I've ever done from the outside looked like nothing has really changed, but internally, what we were unlocking was huge. We were removing friction. We were making paths clearer. We were setting things up for future improvements so they could actually land. And I've worked on projects where the impact wasn't immediate at all, where the problems were so foundational, so baked into the system, that fixing them meant starting at the root, rebuilding the architecture, rethinking how decisions even got made in the first place. That kind of work doesn't show results in a quarter, or maybe even in a year. But fast forward 2-3 years and those projects created a shift. Suddenly the product could do things it could never do before. Suddenly teams were no longer tripping up over the same issues. Suddenly users had paths that made sense. That's the payoff. But for a long time, it just looked like slow, thankless work. And not everyone has an appetite for that. That's why I think grit matters so much in UX. Because the work isn't always creatively exciting. It's often hard, it's slow, it's quiet. Sometimes you're sitting in meetings where no one's really listening to what you're trying to say. Sometimes you're being asked to ship something before it's ready. Sometimes you're holding the line on clarity, on usability, on integrity, while everyone else is rushing to hit a date. And still, you care. You try. You keep going. And the truth is, UX designers are expected to be multidisciplinary shapeshifters. You have to know your craft, sure, but you have to understand how to influence people, how to present, how to tell stories, how to justify decisions, not just to other designers, but to PMs, engineers, leadership, each with their own language. You're not just designing screens, you're negotiating trade-offs, you're untangling ambiguity, you're translating complexity, and that takes an enormous amount of energy and skill. Some of those skills are visible, like interface design, prototyping, research, but others are way more subtle, like being able to read a room, knowing when to push and when to let something go, figuring out how to plant seeds that won't grow for months but will eventually land. And that's work that rarely gets recognized. You're often in a space where good UX is defined by what doesn't happen, the confusion that users don't feel, the errors they don't make, the questions they don't need to ask. That's hard to show in a portfolio, but it's some of the most impactful work you can do. So if you're in this space and you're wondering why it can feel difficult sometimes, why you're tired even when it feels like nothing's big is happening, it's because the work is hard. It requires cognitive flexibility, emotional intelligence, and systems thinking, all while you're trying to move a product forward. And still, you show up. You might be working on something that no one else finds interesting. Maybe it's a permissions model. Maybe it's a settings architecture. Maybe it's edge cases no one else wants to touch. But those things matter. They shape the experience in real, tangible ways. And sometimes those are the things that unlock everything else. You can't innovate on top of a broken foundation. And if you're one of the people out there doing the hard foundational work, thank you. Because that work doesn't just support the system, it enables the future. And I've seen it happen firsthand. Years after laying the groundwork, the product team is suddenly able to move faster. Features launch more smoothly. Teams collaborate more easily. The groundwork fades into the background, but the results speak for themselves. That's the kind of impact grit can have. It's not about suffering. It's not about pushing through burnout. It's about resilience. It's about caring, even when it's not easy. About showing up for the long game. So if you're in the middle of that kind of work, if you're neck deep in ambiguity, in edge cases, in org noise, keep going. You're not doing something wrong, you're doing something hard, and it matters. And if you're early in your career and you're wondering what makes a great UX designer, yes, learn the tools, learn your craft, but also develop your endurance, your patience, your ability to care deeply without burning out. That's what will sustain you. Because this field isn't about one brilliant idea. It's about what you do consistently, the standard you hold, the thoughtfulness you bring, the persistence you carry. And over time, all of that adds up. It creates products that are more thoughtful, more usable, more human. And if you ask me, that's the most meaningful kind of work there is. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe to the channel and share with any of your colleagues that you think might find it interesting. I'd love to hear in the comments as well if you have any ideas, if this resonates with you, if you would challenge any of the ideas that I covered in this video. I'm always interested to hear that too. Thank you. See you in the next video.